So hopefully today you'll leave with some info on boosting your sales conversion rate and booking more weddings. But before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm hosting this webinar from the lands of the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation and pay respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we connect today. So yes, what we'll do today's webinar. Yes. Okay. So Chelsea. So Chelsea has been with Easy Weddings for about 5 years. Previously, she's been in the account management team, but this year she's moved on to our packages team. So more recently, she's been working one-on-one with couples. So she's going to give us some tips on how what she's learned about communicating best with our couples to get the best response rate and get more leads. And in the past, sort of her background, she's studied graphic design, business management, and fashion design. So she brings a breadth of skills to Easy Weddings and to you today. So in today's webinar, we're going to cover a few things, mostly sales tactics and strategies, responding and following up inquiries to improve your conversion rate, and reviews, why they're important and how to get them and how to use them. And obviously your questions answered. So we'll have some time at the end. So I'll hand over to Chelsea.
Thanks, Mel. Welcome everyone. I am very happy to be a part of this webinar. It wasn't until Mel and I went to write up my Meet Chelsea part that I realized this is my 10th year in sales. So 5 years at Easy Weddings, but I actually used to be one of those people that annoy you in the shopping centres or knock on your door for charity sales. So one of the, fastest and I wouldn't say hardest, but the product that you don't need, trying to sell it to someone that would obviously need it. So in terms of sales tactics and strategies, not just at Easy Weddings, I've learned a lot along the years about how to build rapport with your clients quickly, and then obviously implement that into the wedding industry, which has been an absolute ride. It's been a fun 5 years. Like Mel said, I used to be in account management, so I used to be looking after the supplier side of things. And now moving across to the packages side, dealing with brides, grooms, couples, you name it. We've got them all. So to give you a bit of an idea now with this webinar, no one has all the answers. But if I can give you some tips and some tricks that you might be able to use, implement, practice, I'm going to say practice because this is not going to work straight away. Because it might be new to you, or it might be something that you know that you're like, I need a refresher. It's going to be some different bits and pieces that you can implement into your sales process again, will be trial and error in order to make sure that you can get this sort of blended with your style, your technique, and your process. So the couple of things I'm going to go over. So the lead ecosystem. Now with this, there's 3 things I want to cover today. We have done previous webinars, which I will touch on a little bit later, that you can have a look at and go back to as well, that are more in-depth things about how to write email templates and things like that. That's not the sort of stuff I'm going into at the moment. We want to go with how to nurture a lead. So things like using enthusiasm and excitement. Like Mel said, there's people who've been with us for 2 years or less, been in the industry. There's people who've been with us for over 5 years. So it's basically whether it's your first wedding or your 10,000th wedding, you're still using that enthusiasm and excitement. Response time will be something I'm going to go over, and then the follow-up process. I noticed Jasmine had a question previously about that. So definitely we'll be covering that for you, Jasmine. So now, the biggest thing about obviously your advertising and your marketing and everything like that is that you need to be in it to win it. So as much as we claim, obviously, that we're Easy Weddings, we are the biggest, we totally get that, but we're not the be all and end all. You still need to cover all of your other aspects, like your Instagram, social medias, Facebook, all that sort of thing, like your website, that sort of thing. Now, the best way to explain it is Alan Berg has a book about couples ghosting you. And I get a lot of information from him in general. He has quite a few books out about sales tactics. But he speaks about the marketing industry and the advertising industry being like a relay race. You can't have one without the other. So as you pass the baton, the couple might find you on Easy Weddings because they've Google searched wedding venues Melbourne, or wedding cakes Sydney, or whatever it is. They land on your Easy Weddings profile, but then they want to follow you and find you in every single place possible to make sure that you are who you are. I mean, I'm sure Mel can justify like the way that you look on every platform is what they want to see across every platform.
Yeah, exactly. Consistency and branding is really important. Like we've seen some suppliers who might be starting out, they might be new, and they, for example, if they're a celebrant, they might have their personal Instagram that has, pictures of their holidays and their food and their cup of coffee. If it's not really relevant to your business, perhaps set up an additional Instagram account that is just for your business. And we've spoken in previous webinars that, it is important to include a little bit of personality in your own professional account, but things like, behind the scenes of events that you've worked and things like that are really great. But, photos of your holidays that might not be that relevant to your business, maybe keep that separately. It's really important that you create a cohesive sort of brand so that a couple that comes on your Instagram account, Easy Weddings account, Facebook, they can see that this is the same business and that they understand that consistency.
Exactly. Now, some couples might take longer to pass the baton, as we call it. So the idea being that, yes, they might find you on Easy Weddings and then they might go straight to your Instagram. Like we do polls within our surveys that actually explain that they quite quickly go to your Instagram to confirm that you are who you say you are. But then they might sit on your Instagram for 2 to 3 months, then move on to your website, or they might move back to Easy Weddings, depending on where they are in their relay cycle. And all roads lead to home. So a lot of people do want to see your website before they make their inquiry, and they may not always come back to Easy Weddings or back to your Instagram to make that inquiry. They might make it on your website because that's the last step in the journey of their relay. I hope that makes sense. Cool. Now, responding to inquiries to improve your conversion rate. So this is a lot of what we want to talk about today. So I've prefaced, obviously, that you need to be in it. Now, when you get the inquiry, no matter what platform it's from, how do you look after that inquiry? Cool. So the biggest one for me in any sales that I've done, doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter who it is, there are always 4 personality types to any person that you are trying to sell to. Now, you fall into one personality type. One of the partners might fall into another personality type, and the other partner might fall into another personality type. So to give you a bit of an idea, the person that you're speaking to, or the people that you're speaking to, you do need to identify what personality style that they are. We want you to mirror their communication so that they know that they're getting someone like them, because people buy from people like them. And then that in turn creates a better conversation for you. So to give you a bit of an idea, we focus on these 4 personality types. So a driver personality, for example, you've got in the top left of that graph there, they're competitive, they're demanding, they're determined, they're strong-willed, purposeful, they focus on results, take charge, make quick decisions, and then they like a bit of a challenge. Expressive, top right, they're social, they're dynamic, they're demonstrative, enthusiastic, persuasive, motivative, inspire, they involve people, and they create excitement. Analytical, they're the cautious, precise, deliberate, statistics-driven, absolutely every single time. They're quite formal, they're focused on facts, they value logic, they commit slowly, so they do take a little bit longer to make a decision, but they act if the payoff is clear. If they think the value is there, they will act, accordingly. And then the last one's going to be you're amiable. So you're caring, you're encouraging, you're patient, you're sharing, much more relaxed, they cooperate. They seek agreement, they provide support, and they communicate through trust. So what you'll often find is that expressive and amiable type people are quite emotive. They're quite, we say, like they speak with feeling, as opposed to driver and analytical, where they speak with thoughts. So often you can tell in a conversation, or I even direct conversations when I'm chatting to clients, where if I know that the couple is expressive or amiable, how do you feel about that? Where if I know the couple is a driver or analytical, what do you think about that? So you'll find that people will fall into different buckets as well. Personally, Sometimes I'm expressive. If you see me explaining about my weekend or this amazing party I went to or something like that, or I'm like, oh my God, this couple is amazing, everything like that. But if I want something from someone, I want the facts. So I'm a bit more of a driver personality as well. So I don't like when people are like, oh, how do you feel about that? I don't want to be asked how I feel. I'd just rather you told me, to give you a bit of an idea. So when you're actually speaking to your couples, you will often find that a lot of the time, the two couples are completely different. Like the two people in the couple are completely different. You might get an expressive bride and an analytical groom, which means that when you're talking to them, you have to talk about how amazing and beautiful that you are going to make their day, but make sure that when you're actually delivering the invoice, it has a breakdown. So that's the best way, obviously, for me to explain it. Now, that does come across in conversations as well. Even when I'm having a Zoom with a couple where they're both on the same call, it's very, challenging to speak to both of them at the same time. So you have to say things like, oh, I can't wait to do X, Y, Z. And when we pull up in our, stretch limo, it's going to be absolutely show-stopping. And then when you say to the groom or, the other partner, it might be that it's like, yep, and it costs X amount. We charge per hour. And if you want additional hours, it's this. Because they don't care about what it looks like. They care about the stats. Cool. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, pop them in and I'll answer them at the end.
I think also with that, having that shared appeal, if partner one is more emotional, but has to sort of convey the top line, like why they think that we should book this supplier, they might need the facts so that they can convey that information so that they can make a decision as a couple. So yeah, it's good to tick both boxes.
And to be fair, it works in everyday life. My husband and I are currently purchasing a new car, and the poor salesperson that we sat in front of on Monday afternoon, I think he wanted to get out of there as soon as possible, because my husband would purchase off the fact that it makes a loud noise because the exhaust is amazing and the interior of the car is black and it's sleek and everything like that. But I'm thinking, what's the difference between me trading my car in and the car that you're about to give me? Can I get that price down to make the smallest margin possible? I don't care about the exhaust. I don't care about anything. And to give you a bit of an idea, I actually know more about cars than my husband. Our first conversation we ever met, I said, what's your favorite type of car? And he said, Subaru. So I knew he's not a stats kind of person. He's not that analytical. So when we go in to purchase a product together, there's literally devil's advocate about the two different people that the poor salesperson has to deal with. So you'll start to notice and I say practice on your friends and family. My colleagues, I have some expressive that say, oh, I absolutely love this. I think, this is the way it makes me feel. And I have some that are driver, and it means the different personalities that I talk to within my workplace are completely different. Cool. Now, after obviously you've identified all that sort of stuff, before, it comes down to a lot of the time response time. I get a lot of people that say to me, oh, I responded within 24 hours and I never heard back from that client. It's probably because someone has responded before you. So I'm not putting pressure on you. I'm saying if you can respond within the hour, even if it is just with a template email. I know we've got a little catch-up button there, catch-up link there. We actually did a webinar previously where my colleague Belinda actually spoke about template emails and stuff like that. Absolutely amazing, just to get information out there as quickly as possible. When I was planning my own wedding, I inquired with 3 dance lessons places all at the same time. And I actually received an email within 10 minutes of me making one of my inquiries. I then received a text message saying, hey, I've sent you an email just to let you know, but my preferred method of communication is actually text message. I had confirmed 5 dance lessons, worked out the price and paid a deposit via text message before the 2 other companies responded. So it gives you a bit of an idea that often with mobile or with anything like that, response time, 90% of text messages or 90% of emails that pop up on your phone are read within 3 minutes of receiving them. So keep it simple, straight to the point, and like we said, mirror the way that they have responded to you as well. So people write in the same 4 personalities that I've just explained. People with really, really long emails, and I'll show you an example in a minute, that's like super expressive, super whatever, they're completely different to driver personalities who just type 2 sentences. So respond in the same way that they have responded to you. Yes, find a balance between following up and stalking. We will go through this in a minute because I know it gets questioned to me quite a lot from suppliers. And then ask a question and give them a reason to reply. So it's always good when you're on the platform that you're on, whether they responded to you via email, then you send them an email, that you're giving a question within that response method. Cool. And include a clear call to action. So again, I recommend jumping on the past webinar that we've done to have a look at that sort of information.
Chelsea Caesar's asked a really great question about adding personality to your responses. So he said a few people prefer to have only business info, but some mentioned that you need to put a little bit of your personality in order to connect with you. What's your input?
Yeah, to be fair, I sell and report. That's literally how I do it personally. That's me, because again, I have that expressive personality. So for me, I need to trust someone because I'm on that side of the spectrum. Yes, decision making, I'll probably be more driver, but I need personality and I need someone to connect with me. To give a bit of an idea, I had a Zoom call the other day, and within minutes, the couple had actually identified that they have a cat, and their cat's name was Goblin. Very strange name. So I just instantly dropped the conversation we were doing, had a chat to them and said, great. So how old's Goblin? How did you get her? Like all that sort of thing. And they had a chat with me and built rapport that way. So I do believe that a connection aspect, because I have a cat too, it could be the simplest form, but it can make a massive difference because then that person trusts me and knows that I am their advisor and I have the right information.
I think too also like, because weddings are such a personal purchase, it's not like just, maybe buying a car or something that's less expensive. But it's, you have people that are providing the service that are going to be with you on the day. So I know from my experience, my hair and makeup lady, I inquired with another person who I felt was quite rigid and very like, this is my price, this is that business transaction. And for me, I was quite anxious about the process, and I usually do my own hair and makeup, and I was really worried about, are they going to do the right look that I'm after? Like, I don't really want, I wanted a vintage look. I didn't want what was sort of trending. I wanted to make sure that my hair and makeup person nailed my vision. And the person I spoke to, she was just so calm. She was very like, we just aligned very well on our vibe. She was a little bit alternative. She knew exactly what I wanted. So I just felt really comfortable engaging on that level. So I just feel like from my personal experience, it's really important, as Chelsea said before, facts, figures, data points. But in terms of adding a bit of personality, if you know that someone wants to include their dog in their ceremony, focus your attention and mention that. Or if you know that someone wants to, I don't know, whatever the personalization element is, be sure to include that in your correspondence, because you've acknowledged that you understand them, you're on the same page, and yes, you can deliver. So
yeah. And to be fair, like we've got stats there on the side that say 19% of couples book the supplier that got back to them first. 62% book the suppliers based on the information they receive. Now, that's not facts and figures all the time. That is the way that they fall in love with you as a business and everything like that. Something that I have noticed, and we don't touch on so much in this webinar, but using videos to actually portray your personality is something that we are investigating and getting a lot more questions about. And so a celebrant that I spoke to from Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, he actually uses a video in the top of his email response because it's a template email. But when he responds and he says, like, I cannot wait to meet you. This is amazing. We are available for your day. But it's generic technically. But because it's a video, it's more personal because you can see that he's got photos of his kids in the background, or he's got, a picture of his dog, or he might have, something that relates to that person in his video. So there's no harm in doing something like that as well. Cool. Now, your response method does dictate the way that you also respond to people. So a lot of the time, of course, we do get the inquiries through either Easy Weddings, your website, Instagram. So I always recommend respond the same way that you received them. If the person's often obviously on inquiring through like your website or Easy Weddings, it's because they're on the computer. The faster you respond, they're still on the computer. So same way with text message. If they found your number from your Instagram and they've sent you a text message, respond via that text message. But I'm telling, as a massive thing that is the difference between them responding to you and not, is don't ask them to go to a different platform. If they have already contacted you on that platform, whether it be email, whether they've called you, whether they text you, stay on that platform for as long as you can until it requires you to move on. I'll give you a bit of an example. So this is a not so great response. Now this, look, I'm human, trial and error. It's like I said to you before, trial and error. I used to send this message out. Hi, my name is Chelsea and I'm from Easy Weddings. I tried to call you today regarding your wedding package inquiry as I had a couple of questions to ask you about your requirements. Are you free to catch up on the phone on Thursday? Thanks. So it has a lot more information. It is actually quite long when you put it onto a phone for a text message. It does sit quite long. I asked them to leave the current platform that I have messaged them back on to communicate. It's got quite formal language. It's not as personal as it could be. So you do still want to be generally professional, but you do also want to be conversational. I'm not asking you to write like, yeah, you know, because I'm so cool and hip and send me your deets and stuff. We don't want that. That's not your personality. But we want a conversation so that they feel like they are talking to their friend at a barbecue, you know, enough to give you lots of information about what they need. A better response, and I have included 2 here, and I always say, like, again, trial and error, you're going to work out what works. It's not going to work 100% of the time, anything like that. I wrote, hey, Beck, Chelsea from Easy Weddings. Tried to call to chat about your supplier needs. Are you better to reach on email or phone? Now, that is prompting them to go somewhere else, but the response is actually in a text message. So they're not likely to ignore it because then they'll say, hey, I'm better on email, or hey, I'm better on phone. So you have an acknowledgement. The other option is, hey, Beck, Chelsea from Easy Weddings. I tried to call to chat about your supplier needs. I had a couple of questions. Can I text them to you? Sometimes they'll say, hey, it's much easier. Let's jump on email. Or they might say, I can call if it's easier. The amount of times I get people responding saying, hey, thanks so much. Yeah, you can text them through, or I'm available after 4. Give me a call. And then they've instigated that we move from text to phone. You can save templates to mobile phone notes. You can use messaging software. So we have messaging software that we call like Message Media, stuff like that. I use WhatsApp on my desktop. So if you're preferring WhatsApp, you can just literally type it in. It's very, very simple. So there's a lot of different options. Again, mirroring their actual personality. So here's an email that I received, part of an email from a couple. Color theme is red, black, white, and gold. Want bride bouquet to be teardrop, cascading design can be small. Prefer fake flowers for bouquets as I want to keep them. Absolutely no pink. Please, in any of the decorations. Decorations for the mantle, which is the background to the wedding ceremony, open to different ideas. Wanting something that can be transferred after the ceremony to the bridal table. Bridal table is just the wedding couple. Currently thinking a vine with flowers decorated with candles. Again, open to ideas. So for me, I've gone, this person to me does seem a little bit driver, but also seems expressive. She's happy to write a lot of information. And if I'm doing a Zoom call with this person, I'm also thinking I'm never going to wear pink because she's afraid of it, which I'm a pink person, as you can see, pink nails, everything like that. So my response to this person would be, hey, Sarah, that sounds absolutely beautiful. 1, because she's expressive. So I want to touch into her way that makes her feel aspect. This is going to be a dream for me to create for you and your fiance. I know exactly the mantle style you're talking about, and that will be very easy to move into the reception space for the bridal table. Again, still appealing to her, obviously, expressive side and giving her positive affirmation that we can get this done. Candles are such a beautiful idea to add another element of texture and will look great with your red, black, and gold theme. Let's avoid pink at all costs. So it's acknowledgement of what she hates. Can I ask if you've got any inspiration images that you can send that you'd like me to see that I can pop together a tailored quote? And is there anything else I've missed that would make your vision come to life? So I haven't even asked for a phone call at this stage. I'm like, send me pictures. Is there anything else we've missed that you've thought of? Because between now and then, they could have thought of something else. I don't know. The next option is more of a like analytical driver personality. We would like a black limousine for 10 people. We're in the Gold Coast. The venue is SeaWorld. Hey, Sarah, we can provide a black limousine for 3 hours minimum. Where would the pickup point be so I can provide an accurate quote? They don't want a lot of information. They're probably a lot further down their planning cycle. They've inquired with hundreds of suppliers by now. They could just be exhausted, or again, they could be a driver or an analytical personality that wants short, sharp answers because they are the thinkers in the situation. So you might also find that these ones often come from the other side of the couple, not the initial person who's been doing all the inquiries previously. So they might just be on this account saying like, yep, hey, would love to chat. This is it. Cool. And of course, follow up from your messages within 24 hours. So again, we have a bit of a system here that we actually follow up in the style that they've responded to us. And then we follow up shortly after that with either a text message to say, hey, we've sent you an email. And I think Mel's popped in one here that we actually received from Event Letters, actually planning an event, which I'm sure she'll explain.
Yeah, so we were looking at like a really great example to include in this webinar when I actually was in the middle of sourcing a supplier for our industry events. So I inquired with this event letter supplier, and basically their text message that came by phone was exactly what we were saying you should do. So they've greeted me by name. They've told me their business name at the start. You can obviously see it's quite short and sharp, but it's, your personalized quote has been emailed through to you. So please keep an eye out for it shortly. Check your junk and spam folder as well, because the emails can sometimes sneak in there. Let us know if we can assist with anything. So so they've replied to my email. I've got the in my email inbox, there is the quote there and all the information was there. In this instance, it didn't go to spam, but I know that does happen, and we did get a message from someone talking about that issue. They said that their emails go to junk, and they're not quite sure how to rectify that, but they usually tell people to check the email, but sometimes a lot of the time they don't get back to them. There could be a bunch of reasons why that is, but yeah, definitely we always recommend to follow up if you're sending an email, definitely follow up with a text in this sort of style, short and sharp, that lets them know to check their spam just in case.
Yeah, and the good thing with this as well is it is actually not prompting someone to respond. So I wouldn't expect a response. So Event Letters sent this to Mel. Mel actually responded because obviously she knows the industry, and she's like, hey, I want to acknowledge it. Not a problem. But the difference is that you've responded in the same way that they've responded, and then you're just saying, hey, just to let you know, this might go to junk. I would not be expecting a response from this text message, and it's probably not being sent for that purpose. So think of the purpose of why you're sending the text message. If you wanted a response, there needs to be a question. It's pretty simple, like we say, what to say. So, hey, simple greeting, introduce who you are. Thanks for considering you. Sure. Let them know that you've just emailed them with the details and let them know if there's anything else they need. Again, that's a follow-up message. It's literally just to alert them that you have sent them an email and you have acknowledged them just in case they missed it. So I do understand that obviously that can be quite frustrating. I believe it was one of the suppliers on the chat who's asked it. But the difference is when you're responding by email, you're not always going to get a follow-up message if you're just sending like, hey, I've sent it to spam. It's me like acknowledging it, saying, oh yeah, cool, I'll check my spam. I go home, I check my spam. So
there was another question on that. Reese asked about emojis. Obviously I said in this example, there's emojis everywhere. And Reese just said the business that they work for discourages this. Do you have any suggestions on that?
I love emojis. Like, as I guess a millennial, I'm all for it. My husband sends our grocery list every single week with emojis next to each item. If we're getting bacon, there's a picture of a pig because he knows that I like emojis. I think that you wait till they do it. So like when you'll often we even get reviews that have little love hearts in them. And so we would respond with a smiley face or something. So you know that they've basically given the permission to chat in emojis. I actually chat with like a celebrant who the two of us send gifts to each other, the little like tiny little movies inside of our emails, because to us, that's how we communicate. And it might be like, oh, I can't wait for the weekend or something. And there's like a little picture of someone dancing, like, because that's how we communicate. But that was instigated because one of us created it first. So I say always wait until they do it, because you do want to seem professional, but it's the same way that they're responding like, oh my God, I'm so excited for my wedding day. This is amazing. You're not going to be like, cool, anyway, and change the subject. You're going to be like, I can't wait either. We're totally available for your day. This is awesome. As long as you're mirroring what they're saying. Yeah, I say wait for the emoji to come through first, and they will come. So don't worry. It just might be that the initial platform that they've made the inquiry through might not have an emoji option. Cool. Now, the big question that I get asked all the time is, how many times is too many times to follow up? I don't believe that there's too many times. I do believe it's the way that you follow up. So pushy is in your tone, not the amount of times that you follow up. Often, I have to follow up with the client anywhere between 9 to 13 times before I get a response. And that's not me being pushy. That is, I'll respond to them. If I haven't heard from them, I'll give them a call. I'll respond to their email again. If I haven't heard from them, I'll give them another call. I'll shoot them a text. That's already 6 contact points, and I probably still haven't received a response. That doesn't mean that person's not interested. It just means they don't have time, or they haven't connected with the way that you've responded to them yet. So then what we do is we actually have what we call a sequence, where we send them 3 automatic emails, depending on what cycle that they're in. And those 3 automatic emails, we actually track how well that they open and how, if they click on links and stuff like that. So we can see that sort of information. Things like back-end CRMs and stuff can do that information. Alternatively, you just move them. I have a lead tracker, because I'm very old school, in Excel spreadsheet that has different contact points, and I just move the client along a contact point. So then I get to, say, a Wednesday or a Thursday morning when I know that they, might have a bit more downtime at work. And then that group of people that I've moved for that week, I will shoot out an email to. And it's just a follow-up email. Hey, haven't heard from you. Just let me know if you've booked someone else, or I would love to help, do this, whatever. You may not have had time to have a look at this. I'd still love to have a chat. Literally any type of follow-up that's not like, hey, did you book someone or not? Like, it's the way that you say it. So on average, the number of touch points, we've got a little graph here from Rain Group Sales Training. They average 4 to 5 touch points, as the main. But for wedding people, you're looking at, upwards of, when Mel and I went to a conference in Vegas last year, the Wedding MBA, and some of those suppliers on average contact between 10 to 13 times. And even on the 13th time, a lot of the responses are, thanks so much for following up. I'm so sorry, I'd run out of time. And that's over a 1-month period. So just because you don't get a response within 2 weeks doesn't mean they're not interested. They just, maybe something else came up. If you asked me 2 weeks ago to prepare this webinar when I had a wedding that I was attending in the Sunshine Coast, we have a product launch happening, we have all this, I would have turned around and said no. So Mel has to be very patient with me, wait to prepare the webinar, wait a further week until she knows that all that stuff is gone, and then contact me again. So I knew we had the webinar on, I knew it was there, I know it's something I need to focus on, but for my time at that point, I had reached my limit of what I could do. So wedding planning would take a backseat. So just because they've inquired 4 weeks ago, they had time then, they may not have time 2 days later. Something may have happened, you don't know. And a lot of the time I get apologies from couples. I'm so sorry. No, I haven't looked at anything. You are the first person that I inquired with. I was waiting for a good time to get back to you. I'm so sorry. Or on the 13th time, hey, I did book someone else. Thanks so much for following up. And then I have a response that is a yes or a no. I don't want to sit in the middle zone where it's I don't know anything. So don't think that following up more than 2 or 3 times is pushy. It's not, because they are still interested, and the fact they haven't responded no means that they could still be a possible lead. Better off trying them than not. So
yeah, we had one of our in a previous in the interview I did with a previous one of our suppliers said they don't pretty much they don't stop following up until they get a no. So and yeah,
the unknown is worse than the known. Like, I would rather a no, leave me alone than I'm just going to ignore you. And it's the same thing. Like, people always say, oh, I always answer the phone. But when I was in account management, that's not the case. I can call suppliers 3 or 4 or 5 times, but because you're busy, you can't answer. It's a fact of life. So yes, I have to follow up via email, via text. I've been creating, this new product and everything, and I contacted 8 makeup artists across Australia and didn't get a single response. So I contacted a further 4. So I contacted 12 makeup artists across 2.5 weeks and no one responded. And then I sent a bulk email that was a bulk text message actually that was exactly the same. Hey, I sent you an email. I just wanted to know if you're interested. 5 responses back within 10 minutes. So it's a fact of life. It's not just who they are or what generation they're from. It is a fact of life. So my top tips, number 1 is be everywhere. So the difference is like I said, you need to be on Easy Weddings. You need to follow your Instagram, your Facebook, your website, everything like that. They need to multiple touch points. Identify their personality type. If you can, work it out as soon as possible. Again, you could try one way and then they respond a different way and you think, oh, I'm going to change up the way I'm responding. That's okay as well. You may not have picked it up on the first email because it's quite hard to tell personality by email. It's quite hard to tell tone. A lot of people say to me, but you put a full stop at the end of that text message. Are you mad at me? I'm not. That's how I type. Cool. Communicate on the same platform. Try and chat with them. Again, like I said, as long as you possibly can on that platform until you and them decide to move on, because that is their preferred method. And then follow up more than once. It takes up to 5 to 10 contact points on average. They don't hate you. You just haven't continued to follow up. Daniel asks, with the 9+ follow-ups, what's your conversion rate? It's a great question. When I get to 9+, I actually send them to that sequence, like I said. 3 emails at the moment with the emails we've got, and I change these all the time. Like I said, I don't know the exact formula. I don't think there is an exact formula. 50% of people open that 10th email. 12% of them respond. At the moment, 10% open the second email and 2% respond. So for me, I look at that and I go, that email is wrong. I need to change something on that. And then the last attempt, basically they, again, 50% and 20% response. So there's something wrong with my middle email that I need to change, but that's something that I follow and I track. So I hope that helps.
There's a couple more questions before we move on to the next part. Adrienne's asked about if you've met face-to-face, does the follow-ups, the amount of follow-ups still, is it still, does it still apply if you've met them face-to-face? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, because again, they get busy. So if I haven't heard from them for a while, I might send a couple of emails, I might try to call, and then I'll, I think someone said, is it worth responding with a Hail Mary or last response to pull them over? Sometimes it's like my text message is, hey, Sarah, haven't heard from you in a while. Is there anything you need from me? Or, hey, Sarah, haven't heard from you in a while. Have you made a decision on your music? Literally could be to me, that's a Hail Mary, because it's like, look, I haven't heard from you. I've tried to contact you. What's going on? I've even responded to like, are you okay? Like an email that just says, are you okay? Hey, I haven't heard from you. Is everything okay? Do you still need me, or have you picked something else? it's okay to send those. So yes, I would, even if I face-to-face met them, it can be 4 weeks later. To give you a bit of an idea, when I started in this role, I had a meeting with someone in the first week of February. The sale didn't close until 2 weeks ago. And not because I hadn't followed up, I did, but she had eye surgery. She went overseas. She had a problem with a family member, stuff that she couldn't explain to me immediately on the spot. But I'd met them on a Zoom conference because they were in Sydney and we're here in Melbourne. But I'd met them on a Zoom conference. We connected. I was like, what is going on? What have I done wrong? And it's nothing I'd done wrong. It just happened to be life got in the way. So yeah, I definitely would recommend following up multiple times. It's almost like once you meet them face to face, it's like a bit of a reset as well. So you might try another 5 or 6 times. So
I guess also when you consider the buying cycle being about, average of 22 months, you might have had an excited couple at the start when they first got engaged, and they've just emailed everybody or inquired with a whole bunch of people, and they're not actually ready to make that purchase until later down the line. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and some people are just trying to get your actual general price. So if you're giving them a price range, hey, it's this to this. Some people are just formulating their budget. That's it. So
or trying to find more money.
Or trying to find more money because they really need your product. Yeah, I get that. Cool. Now, the last one, and look, you'll hear us talk about this non-stop, reviews and why they're essential, how to get them and how to use them. So the biggest thing is that, yes, we understand there's multiple platforms that you need to get reviews for. You want Google, you want Easy Weddings, you want, to post them up on your Instagram, all that sort of thing. They are incredibly essential. So if you have one review, just one, you will increase your results by 25%. If you have 11 plus, there's something magic about this number of 11 that increased your results by 200%, particularly on Easy Weddings, but of course elsewhere as well. And then 40 or more reviews makes you trusted completely. 11 plus, they're like, yep, they know what they're doing. 40, they're like, this is experience. So asking once for a review is going to get you a response from 1 in 5 couples. Asking twice will get you from 1 in 3. Now, you might try on one platform, try again, and then you might try on a different platform. Feel free. We offer a competition and they win cash. That's not on you, that's on us. So feel free to use that. I really don't mind, as long as they leave you the review, then they could win some cash. That's great. So even if you try on Google and you say, please leave me a Google review, then the second time you try Easy Weddings and say, hey, you can win cash if you leave a review. I left a review on one of my suppliers' profiles for my own wedding, actually 17 suppliers for my wedding. And 4 of them responded to me after I'd left the review. Thank you so much for your review on Easy Weddings. Do you mind if you could put one on my Google as well? Of course. Copy, paste. Really simple. But if you don't ask, you're not going to get. So it's just as simple as asking. Cool. Now, Mel and I did want to obviously go through the wedding buying cycle. So a lot of friction that comes from enquiries is because you fall into a pool with a bunch of other suppliers at the same time. So to give you a bit of an idea and to remember in terms of the buying cycle, is that if they're inquiring with a celebrant, a photographer, a wedding dress person, and a videographer, you're probably all at the same time. So make it very, very known, make it very, very personal, make sure that you stand out, because they're inquiring with anywhere between sort of 2, 3, 4 suppliers in each category at the same time. So sometimes they're waiting for 20 inquiries at one time. So when you say like, oh, but, I responded really quickly and stuff like that, they're probably also waiting for their photographer to respond, their videographer to respond, their, celebrant to respond. They're probably waiting for a large chunk at the same time. So don't be deterred by that. Same thing with them booking music, cars, floristry, styling, all at the same time. So it will all happen together. That does also mean that I would look at this cycle and I would question the couple as well and say, if I'm a car supplier, how did you go with your photo and video? Did you need some assistance on that as well? Because I can recommend you some people, and it makes you seem trusted in the industry as well. So there's no harm in going back up the cycle or going down the cycle and asking, while we're here, I've got a couple of hair and makeup artists I really like working with. Here's some recommendations. because then they think that you're obviously big in the industry, even if you've only been in the industry for a year.
I think that just proves the point of how important it is about to network with other suppliers. Identify sort of who is in your bracket or who is near you in the buying cycle, and you make sure you sort of introduce yourself, even if it's remotely or via social media, just so that you can create those connections, and hopefully they recommend you as well. And with our industry events coming up in the next few months, if you come to those in person, there's an opportunity for you to sort of meet the people that you'll potentially be working with, or you can recommend and they can recommend you. So yeah, if you come, definitely recommend registering to those events. We'll tell you how to do that later on, and bringing your business cards and networking in that way.
Exactly. Sweet. Questions?
Yes, there's a few here. There was a question about reviews and things from Roger, talking about, it's a little bit confusing to asking clients to leave feedback. Just to sort of give you some support on that, Roger, there's an option for us at Easy Weddings to follow up with your couples on your behalf, and in your Wed CRM, you can include all those include your couple's details, and we can follow them up on your behalf. So definitely take advantage of that. That will help.
Yeah, and with that, it's not, to let you guys know, just in terms of the process, it's not a pushy conversation. It's just a couple of contact points where our team is like, hey, we know you booked XYZ for your wedding. We want to help support local business, or we have this competition running at the moment. You just wanted to make sure that you wanted to be a part of it. Local business is obviously a really great angle for us to come at, because we are calling from a national company, but they're supporting someone from the area that they got married in. So it's much easier to say, like, these are small businesses, because a lot of you are. So if we say small businesses run on reviews, could you leave us one? Couples go, no problem. It takes 2 minutes over the phone.
And in terms of making it easier, as Chelsea said before, you can ask them to copy and paste a review that they left on Google or Easy Weddings, or vice versa. I find that it's easy. The easier you make it for your couple, the easier the more chance you'll get with a response. So if there's a direct link to your Google, your Google reviews, include that in your email, rather than just saying, leave me a review on Google, because then they have to go to Google you, find the link. Like, the fewer steps that you can give them, the better. A few other questions. Let's see what there was. There was about is it, this is a question for Chelsea, is it odd to ask sort of for feedback about why they didn't book you, or what would you suggest?
No, it's not a bad question. We do ask it here as well. When we book suppliers, it's like, hey, it's the way that you ask it again. It's like, hey, just because we always want to improve, is there anything that you can recommend that you didn't like about our service, or that put you off booking us? It's not a bad question to ask.
And Leonie has a question about what sort of tracker or sheet that suppliers can use to make the admin process easier. I'm not sure, Leonie, if you're familiar with our Wed CRM, but Chelsea, do you want to just give a little crash course on what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Wed CRM, so we've built up the platform for you within the backend system, where it basically, you can mark the status of that inquiry, whether you've met with them, quoted them, booked them, everything like that. You can also change the percentage of it if you think that person will close, or like you might have a booking and you think, yep, I reckon I'm good on that one. I think it's an 80%, or, the only thing that you need to get is the yes. Or it could be that you're 50-50 on that couple and you think maybe they'll book. I think the price might have been too high for them. I'm not quite sure. So I'll mark them as 50%. From there as well, you can actually export all of your leads to Excel from that Wed CRM. Alternatively, I know that a couple of people use places like Studio Ninja, that sort of thing, CRMs that you have to pay for. Ours is included, self-promoting there. But the Studio Ninjas, I know there's quite a few different ones, and there's a lot of like AI-based ones that are coming out at the moment. So just research it and see what's best for you. I have people that change all the time because they're like, yep, there was this function that I needed that wasn't in something else, but I didn't know I needed it until I tried it. So have a look around.
And if you have any, if you want any help with navigating your Wedge CRM, our customer service team is here. That's what they're here for. Please lean on them. Give us a call, and they'll walk you through walk you through our Wedge CRM and answer any questions that you have. There was a question earlier from Jasmine. About should the initial inquiry forms be detailed or less detailed for the clients to fill in to contact you regarding the services?
Yeah, I think the golden rule is no more than 6 or 7 fields. If you start to put too many, they start to get overwhelmed and they don't complete the task. We have ours on our website, tick box option as well. And again, going back to my car experience, they're on car sales as well. Like you'll notice that their inquiry form is name, email, phone number. What do you need from us? Tick one of these 3 boxes or 2 of them or whatever. So I would say this more simple, the better, because you don't want, again, friction between them actually saying, hey, I'm interested. Chat to me, because if they're filling out that inquiry form, they have vetted you across your relay already. They've already gone to Easy Weddings. They've already gone to your Instagram. They've already gone to your website. They come back to Easy Weddings. They're just like, hey, I want to just give you my information and then contact me. So that's why when I get people who are like, oh, but how do I know? Because I don't know their pickup point, or I don't know where they're getting ready with their family, or I don't know this. You don't need that information straight away. And the chances are, if they're booking you early on in the cycle, they don't have that information. I think I got frustrated with my car supplier because he said, I was 18 months out from the wedding. He said, where are you getting picked up from? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't even thought about the hotel yet. How would I know that? And I didn't book the hotel until about 6 months before. But then he said, no problem. I'll fill in the rest of the information. Just let me know when you know. I was like, great. I just want to book you in. I know I need you for 3 hours. And he said, if we have to upgrade it to 4, we'll upgrade it to 4. So it was a much more relaxed conversation than I need to know all of this information immediately, because you technically don't.
So
a lot of situations might say you do.
It's just the initial information that you need to give them a general quote, I guess, and then you can sort of evolve that once you're further in the process.
To make it as stress-free as possible and least questions. So if it's like, I need a black limousine for 3 hours, you might just double check, hey, have you thought about where you're getting ready? Somewhere in the CBD. You don't need to know the exact hotel. You don't need to know, everything like that.
We're getting close to our at the end. We've got 5 minutes left, so I just want to quickly run through the rest of the session. I just want to do a bit of self promotion, but quickly before we go, there was one question about newer businesses and if they don't have photos and that sort of thing. How what would we suggest that they do? Usually, our suggestion is to do a styled shoot. So this was a hair and makeup supplier. Get some models in, take your own photos, and try and mock something up. Always a styled shoot is going to be better than stock imagery. It just doesn't look as authentic as something that you create yourself. It's definitely worth investing in professional photography in the initial outset. Sometimes you can also work with local suppliers and sort of collaborate, include different suppliers to do different elements and reshare those pictures across platforms. So just before we go, if you haven't yet downloaded our wedding industry report, we do this every year. It's an extensive overview of all the landscape of the wedding industry by category, by state, what they're spending, what the styles are, what the trends, everything that we're seeing. We will soon be launching our surveys for our 2024 edition. So you'll probably all get emails from us asking a bunch of questions about your business. We really do appreciate you filling that in, because it will help guide the next year's weddings and sort of help all the suppliers to sort of plan their business, structure for next year, and and there's also usually we give a prize, like a prize for.
We've always got a bribe. That's the best bit.
Yes, there's an incentive, but you'll find out more in the next few weeks, next few months. But anyway, if you haven't read this one, download it, and it's quite extensive. We've also got in-person events coming up, Melbourne, Sydney, and also Brisbane. You'll see Chelsea and myself and a few of our other Easy Weddings people in person, presenting talks on sales, marketing, lots of different things. You get the opportunity to network and meet other industry people as well. You can scan those, and the registration links will be there. It's a free event, so you got nothing to lose, really. In the email that I'll send through with the replay link, I'll also include links on how to access these. So if you can't, if you don't get your phone up in time, we'll tell you how to get there. Our next webinar is going to be next month, July. So every couple months I've been doing an introduction to Easy Weddings. It's mostly an onboarding webinar for newer suppliers, but if you're looking for a refresh, definitely, we'd love to see it. And we talk through, how do different things that, you can different ways to optimize your listing, all those sorts of things. So definitely check that out if you are newer on Easy Weddings. In a few months, not until September, but we're really excited. We're going to have Emma, who is our head of social media, doing a talk, a webinar on the real ROI of social media. So just talking about, understanding the value of your social media strategy to generate your business growth. That's going to be really exciting. Definitely worth checking that out. So that is all from me. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. Chelsea, do you have anything further that you want to talk about before we go?
No, I think it's covered.
Excellent. Again, please reach out if you have any questions, or if you'd like some more sort of customer service help navigating your web CRM, and anything that you need to know about Easy Weddings, please give us a call. In my email, you'll have all the contact details, so you know how to find us. Excellent. Well, thank you for your time. Have a lovely lunch break, and hopefully we'll see you in person if you're Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. Otherwise, I might see you at our next webinar.